Hi Stampin' friends, tonight we're going to use Year of Flowers stamp set, and I would love to have flipped this so that it was looking correct, but sadly that was taken away on Facebook again, so hopefully I'll find a way to get it back. This stamp set is really cool because it has each of the months of the year and their general significant flower that you use for that month, kind of like an old-fashioned sort of deal. So it's kind of cutesy. And it has a great die that comes with it also. It cuts out this little guy. So that's something you can use it two different ways. The dies that come with it, however, do not cut out the month, you know, the birthday month. So that's what's great about this. If you want that to be on there, it fits, you know, on there nicely. Now, I did want to say one thing about how I set up mine inside. You could turn everything this direction and put 6 and 6, but I did 4 and 4, so I would be able to find them. I put, you know, January, February like that, and then October, November, December like that, in 3 groupings so that I could find them easily. It would not matter whether you used 6 or 4 in rows, but that's just what I did. It also has, I couldn't have picked a better friend, and you know, we just used that last week. I didn't really notice that it had the exact same sentiment. That seems a little bit lazy on Stampin' Up's part, but it also has happy birthday, sending you a floral hug, and hoping your day blooms with happiness. So that's a lot of fun. All right, the other set we're going to use is Natural Botanicals. We're going to use it second because it's going to get my hands all messy. It has a lot of pretty designs, and they want you to use it both directions. They want you to flip it over, which that's how my hands are going to get messy, and use the back side to stamp it also. So we'll do that one second. And it is a clear stamp. The others, of course, are red rubber. So we will get started here, and I hope that you like some of the designs or can think of while I'm working. Like a lot of times I know when I watch videos or something, I'm like, oh, I would rather do it this way. I would rather do it that way. So you may be in the same situation. So the way I wanted to start this was with a directional stamp here. I just think putting 3 on 1 is really cute. And so we'll stamp those, but then I also wanted to do it just like this with the white, still with the white. And then if we color these and, whoops-a-daisy, put them on in May, June, and July, you could make a red, white, and blue card that would be really bright and pretty for summer because it's actually white, red, and blue. The delphinium, the rose, and the lily of the valley, I think, make a great background piece. Now then, white on the background may seem like a bit much, but I do think it needs texture with this. And this is one of the new embossing folders. It will be in the next catalog. It is not necessarily made to go with this set and not necessarily even made to go this direction, but I think it's cute. I think it adds texture and a little bit of pattern behind it. So what I'm going to do first is just get out some of my blends and do some coloring. One thing I learned today that I didn't know before, and if you subscribe to my blog, you will have already seen this, but I did not know that you could put dark lemon lime twist and dark granny apple green blends, and it will make a color that looks a lot like garden green, which is something I would want on my next card or on this card. I think it's a very realistic color. Now, oh gosh, her name is going to be gone. The Canadian stamper, oh, her last name is like Strelo, but I can't remember her first name. Dadgummit. Okay, well, it'll be posted when I post it on my blog. But her idea was just so great. I was like, that is perfect. Then I got distracted there and didn't look at that. Okay, so there we go with that. I'm doing the stem because the stem is probably the tiniest little part of it, and they have left it for you to for you to color. Now you could certainly do these in colors and stamp a bunch of them. I think that would make a pretty card. You can just do it like with real red or with a maybe the blueberry, probably the blueberry bushel would be the most gorgeous to have them just stamped all around, and it would kind of give it a Delft China pattern. So something to think about there. I'm going to not do anything to these Lily of the Valley, which is May. I'm just going to go over it with a little wink of Stella on the little bells, because I can't even describe to you how tiny these are. They're so little. Oh, I didn't finish. Too funny. To go back over it with my Granny Apple Green. Oh, I did that again. There we are. Oh, and that is, look how nicely that matches. I can't even, why did I never even try that? I mostly just try to get my colors to match and don't even think about it again. It's so funny. But it is such a nice match. Okay, I'm going to go down that. So funny that I did not even think to try that. And then there. Because to me, if you're doing a color that's lighter, I would assume that at least one of my colors would need to be darker than the color I'm going for. A light blueberry bushel, dark lemon lolly, and then for the red, I think I'll do dark poppy parade. And yes, we have a real red. I just kind of prefer a little bit of brightness in my red. I'm going to set this off because you could see there what I did was kind of crazy. So I'm just going to set this off and work on this real quick. And if you think this doesn't match, you can just go over it again. Like now I've got it, mostly covered. You can just go over the center a couple of times, and that will get it darker in the center. And then fewer times on the outside to just let it remain. And then the center maybe a couple more times. And that'll get it dark enough that you should be pretty happy with it there. And then for my, I don't know, are these larkspur, delphinium? I'm not actually sure which flower July is. I looked up, several of these are very obvious. Like you can definitely tell what is a carnation and an iris, some of the winter months, but with these it's a little difficult to tell. I hope this isn't too dark, because I do want it pretty dark, but I don't want it so dark that we just can't even see it. I think this is perfect. This is the light blueberry bushel, because I do want it to have kind of a red, white, and blue look. So now you can see that we have a pretty white ribbon. This is called polyester ribbon, it's a 1/4 inch, which is kind of a strange name to call ribbon, but there you go. You could add this at the bottom. You can color this. I would probably be a little bit careful, but you can color this with your blends as well. But, just something to put across the bottom and make it pop. So now I've done these where they're cut out. You could even switch these up. You could put blue under the white, white under the red, something like that to make even more different colors show. But I think this is not necessarily patriotic. It's just a bright summer color scheme that I think is pretty. Okay, so now I'm going to get those same, what am I doing here? I only ended up with, oh, there they are. I should have known better. They were here. And then we also have these guys, and I wanted to kind of show you these. They are little cutouts that you can put with this. So like you could layer one of these on top of it and make it into a little vignette. Let me try to hold it up there where you can see it. There we are. So that's fun. And then I'm going to get these and get our memento ink. No, I have it over here. I have 2 mementos, so I'm ready for whatever situation comes up. Or if I want to have 2 cards out of class, so no one has to wait on it. 2 cards with the same one. I'll do the same thing here with the May. Oh, and I forgot about this. I got to be really careful. These do sometimes need to be cut with your craft and rubber scissors. And as I was stamping these earlier, I realized, yes, these definitely need to be cut because I was not being overzealous in any way, and they definitely needed a trim to rock back and forth too much. Okay. And this is the one that I think was the worst, because I had trouble getting the July to even show. So I may have to do this one twice, but luckily I have a couple cut out there. Let's see if I can be that careful. Nope, see, I caught the edge. That's what I was talking about. Just caught the edge right there. So I think I'm going to go ahead and grab these scissors and try to trim that off. Let's see, it's on this side, actually. I would have thought it would have been the other side. Just trimming all down that side. You can see that there is one way to know that it needs to be trimmed is you'll see the ink going around the side. Now I'll probably have it going the other direction as well, but okay. Okay, that worked. So there you can see our same ones again. Our May, June, and July. And we would just finish these up in the same way. I do like doing 3, but you certainly don't need to. There's a million different ways to create your setup. So like you could do something here. You could make July's. This, you know, very many things come on a stem and are purple. And then you could put some of these guys on here as well. That's going to kind of add to the purple look. And you can put this here, and you can just make a little vignette. What I would probably do is punch some circles and things to just create this and put it on a piece of designer series paper, which I have laying over there and can't reach. So, fun. Now I'm going to move on to, throw that away so I don't get confused. I'm going to move on to this other stamp set. I'm going to show you it one more time because it's a little confusing. That was Year of Flowers. This is Natural Botanicals. I actually got this for Celebration. And what's good about this, I think it's nice and simple, and you can come up with different color schemes. I'm typically a person who uses a lot of purple on a daisy, but certainly a daisy would be pretty. You could do a Rudbeckia, which is a brown-eyed Susan. So there's a lot of different ways to put this. And then we have this one going this way that you could put maybe down at the bottom of the card, you know, as like a little corner piece next to your sentiment. Oh, I forgot to do my happy birthday. That was funny. Okay, let's see here. Where is it? There it is. Let's do a little happy birthday on this. This I'm using the, every time I want to say, okay, Stylish Shapes. Just a little, oh, that got kind of crazy, but a little happy birthday on that. And then I was thinking I might like to put Hoping Your Day Blooms with Happiness, because that's a fun one to use for whether someone's just had a bad day the day before or whatever. You can give them that one. It's kind of a useful sentiment. And then, let's see here. So that would have been perfect there at the bottom. You can see how sweet that sentiment is. Okay, now I'm going to use this other, oh, it looks like it has a little stain on it. I don't know about that. Let me try to get an eraser. Not sure what that, yeah, that's not a real, it's not a real problem. But you can see this background. This is one of our new embossing folders, and it just kind of looks like ferns and things, so lots of fun there. And you could put that, you could put this on top of that, or you could cut out one of your pieces or all of your pieces with this and stamp it on there. So that's a choice. I'm going to go ahead with this one. With this one, I use the Country Woods background. You can see the back side is this, so you may prefer that one. But I wanted to do this. And then the smaller die cut from these. These are rectangles, but they're not called rectangles. They're called textured notes. So I guess the idea is that you could write notes on these. So they're not textured rectangles, they're textured notes. Okay. So my plan on this one was to use some colors that go with gray, but I also kind of wanted to just put the gray in. Now my background is basic gray, which is the darker, and my stamping though is going to be in our smoky slate so that it'll be a little bit lighter. Gonna put this on. Hopefully I got that inked okay. So there you can see that one. And then I'm just going to flip it over, kind of as we talked about, on the same block, just right there. And I'm going to get my soft sea, is that right? Yeah, soft sea foam, and ink up the back side. See, I've got some green on there. Oh. Well, I didn't think of that. I thought these were that way, but they are not. But I'm still going to do it. Go at it sideways. So there you can see that just kind of stamped over. And then I'm going to do this one in our garden green, just to put a little more behind it there. Okay, I might need to stamp that off. I might think it's a little bit too dark. I'll just do that on the page that I keep underneath. And then I'm going to huff on it, which is just remoistening, because it's large. That's why I'm doing it twice or 3 times. And then I'm just going to stamp over it like that and putting it down in the corner just a little bit to kind of offset. All right, and I do think that is more than enough stamping on the back. So then I'm going to take this little scrap and I'm going to stamp it in our gray again. But I better close this up so I don't have an accident. And the gray. I'm going to stamp it over here on this, oopsie, on this piece that's just like a little extra piece. So you can see there that I've stamped that in the gray. So then I might flip it over to use the back side. And then I might grab my, better set that off there, fresh freesia. And then on the center, I want to use some pecan pie. I'm going to grab one of my blending brushes, hopefully a small one if I can find one. Look here, there we are. And put that on the top on our little cone for our cone flower. And you could add some orange. They typically have little orange flowers, tiny flowers inside, but you don't have to, of course. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my green and just go down that. Put a little in the center. And then we'll see how that goes. It's going to be off because, oh, I didn't want to do the green. That's right. Okay, let me get something to clean it off with. This will work. Just whatever piece of paper is handy. Forgot I didn't want to do the green because this is the one that I was telling you about that just, it won't match exactly. So do it over to the side, stamp it on, And there you can see the way that looks. I'm going to flip it back over. And instead of doing it that way, I'm going to use markers. So I'm going to use the, whoops-a-daisy. I'm going to use this garden green. I'm going to be very careful with the tip, because garden green is one of those that I have used several stamps with, and it doesn't end up being, it ends up getting a little bit of damage. So I want to be super careful with that. Grab my fresh freesia. There it is. Put it all over here. And I'm being very careful with this as well. I don't want to mess up the tip. I want to keep it neat and cute. So after I get that on there, I'm going to go ahead and go back in with a tiny bit of our Highland Heather. That is the more purple color that we have. It's just a light, still a light color, but it's purple instead of freesia. A little bit of pecan pie on here at the top. And then I'm going to put a little bit of pumpkin pie in a circle around, just like they look in real life. Now, if you like echinaceas, there is an echinacea set that cuts out an echinacea shaped card in the new catalog. Now, that was one of the ones that I really liked going into the new catalog. Okay, I'm gonna stamp that on there. I think I've got a little bit, I think my green is a little bit low. So go ahead and scooch it up just a little bit. Since it's been a minute, going ahead to huff on that. Okay, so, oh, that was the stem. Accident. Okay, just go ahead and color that with our garden green. And then you can go back in with some other colors, some of the light blends, and add more to that. So I'm going to get my light fresh freesia crumb cake just to finish out this top part here. Just finish that center. Makes it look a little more complete. Okay. Then I'm going to use my light blend on here. And I do like where I put the Highland Heather in. You can see a slightly more purple area. I will try and figure out what's going on with the upside downness, not upside down. I was trying to say that as the reason I went ahead and did this upside down. Usually I look at what I'm doing up on the screen here, and if it's not flipped, then I get kind of loopy trying to look at it. You could certainly cut this out with one of these. There are many nice smaller dies like this, but I'm just going to cut this out and layer it on there. So there you can see, I just pop this on some glue dots. Let's try to find them real quick and get it on there. And we want to put a little edge piece right down there, one of the real small ones. So there you can see, I'll just put that on there. And then maybe add some of these guys at the bottom. And then let's get our sentiment. And I kind of think a freesia colored sentiment would be pretty. So I'm going to get, maybe our happy birthday fits in there the best, I think. And it does have a little bit of black on it. I need to kind of make sure I get that off. We'll see how, if it's too dark. Yeah, and I do have that kind of tilted at an angle. But there, you might put that at the bottom. And then, of course, if you've been here for any amount of time at all, you probably have noticed how much I like the Fresh Freesia velvet ribbon. It's only an 1/8 inch wide, and I think that is a pretty width because we haven't had much of that. We have this one and we have the Daffodil Delight, but this one's velvet, so that makes it extra nice. Feels nice in your hands when you're tying it. Of course, you know, I like velvet shoes and velvet clothes, so I'm kind of one of those people. But after I get it, I just want to make the ends a little, or the loops a little cuter. And then that around. Then maybe pop that right on there. And then after you have that much of it done, at this point, you could add some Wink of Stella if you think it could use some shine. But I always like to add some here. So many of the embellishments, the great embellishments that we had, oh, here they are, carried over from the last catalog. We have some more purple ones. I don't remember if these exact ones did, but we have the ones that go with the lavender set. So it carried over. I like to, you know, we all like to do groups of 3, but I also sometimes like to do 5. When my sentiment has a large die cut that it is on, I think it looks really good to put a couple, or you could put them, you could also put one here and one here, but put a couple of embellishments on your sentiment piece as well. And then keep your 3 here. So there you can see that little card. And we also made the, whoops, I dropped one in the floor. Hold on just a second. This little card with our Hope Your Day is Blooming with Happiness. Gotta get my rose. So sweet. There we are. With our May, June, and July stamps on there all cut out. Oops, got a little bit of lint. And then putting some red ribbon on there would also be gorgeous, but I don't know that we have any right now. We may, but in any case, putting something, a vibrant color of ribbon on there would be super pretty. I appreciate you all watching, and I hope that you have a great weekend. Bye-bye.